Dead.
Go!
Keep your hands in tight.
Hey, what you record, bro?
Big Ten Network.
Ann Arbor, Michigan, the 18th and final stop on the Big Ten Network's preseason tour of the conference. The Michigan Wolverines, just a season removed from winning the national championship, and finished the follow-up campaign on a very positive note, knocking off rival Ohio State and topping Alabama in their bowl game. The D figures to shine again, but for Michigan to return to championship form, the offense must take a massive step. We'll take a deep dive into the maize and blue on our Michigan training camp special now. Welcome to Ann Arbor. The Michigan Wolverines going through their final paces before their season opener against New Mexico. That leading up to a massive early road test against Oklahoma. Welcome into the final stop of our tour. Dave Remsen, Howard Griffith, and Jake Butt. College football nearly upon us, guys. We get to see the Wolverines here today, a team that finished with a ton of momentum last year, winning their rivalry game, beating Alabama in a bowl game. Now they try to build on that. What are you interested in seeing here today?
Well, obviously everyone wants to find out what the young quarterback is looking like in Underwood, but I'm also really interested defensively, how they're going to look. Who's going to be the big pass rusher off the edge? What the corners look like to be able to apply a lot of pressure?
Yeah, to me, it's really just the newcomers. It's Bryce Underwood, it's Chip Lindsey. It's the sum of those two working together. It's Donovan McCulley out on the edge at wide receiver. Sherrone Moore has talked extensively. He believes this defensive line will be one of the best in college football. I can't wait to see that in person, but really the ceiling of this team will be set by the offense.
Yeah, it's interesting. A lot of star power gone on that defense, including a couple defensive tackles who were first-round picks, and yet the buzz around here is that group could be deeper, and some might even say better than last year. Again, I'm fascinated to see how that could come together given the talent that's lost. But I'm with you, Jake. I mean, the story here has to be on offense. We're talking about a group that only scored more than 30 points one time last year. They averaged their fewest yards per game since 1963. So, I mean, it's been a while since they had an offense that was as ineffective as last year. I know there's a lot of buzz around the quarterback, but wide receivers, you know, the point of McCulley, how much better is he than where they were a year ago? Running backs, you're replacing two running backs from last year. Are you able to kind of improve there and pick up the ball and literally run with it? So to me, I think you're asking a lot for this offense to be. It has to be dramatically better for them to be the team they want to be.
I think it has to be, but one of the things they've done here is done a tremendous job of recruiting and really developing that talent that they have that is in the building right now. So I think when you talk about running back, I think they'll be fine. When you talk about the wide receivers, I'm really anxious about that group, because now that there's a guy that most likely will be under center that can go vertically down the field, that can challenge teams with his legs, I think that's going to open up the wide receiver in the passing game.
It has to be better. It will be better just because of the pieces around them, but really it's Chip Lindsey. He's the orchestrator of this all, a guy with experience calling plays, and really complimentary. I think he sees eye to eye with Sherrone Moore in terms of what they want this offense to be. I expect it to look completely different offensively this fall.
And Chip Lindsey said a great job. This is his sixth stop as an offensive coordinator, and his reputation is, hey, I'm going to build the offense around what I have. He's had some offenses that have been really good through the air. Last year, North Carolina, they led the ACC in rushing. So we will see how those pieces fit together. To your guys' point, though, they have to be more explosive. No power conference team in the country had fewer plays of 20 yards or longer last year than the Wolverines. Michigan did not stand pat after last year's offensive struggles. The biggest news came when they flipped five-star QB Bryce Underwood from LSU, in-state prospect who is considered the nation's top recruit. Brought in some key transfers as well. QB Michael Keene from Fresno State, along with running back Justice Haynes from Bama, and Donovan McCulley at wide receiver from Indiana was great 2 seasons ago. Haynes and Underwood with Jake.
Bryce, man, there was so much buzz when you decided to commit to the University of Michigan, man. It's been a journey. You went through spring ball, fall camp. You're now into game prep. And what's it feel like to finally be staring down the barrel of your first playing time here at Michigan?
Of course, I say, like I start off saying always, it's a blessing, of course, because without God, I wouldn't be in this position, you know. Just praying every day just to get to where I want to be, and which is a Hall of Famer in the field. So no matter what, that's going to be my main goal. For sure.
What are some of the areas you feel you've seen the most growth and progress in?
Honestly, my leadership as well, being a vocal leader, because of course, coming in as a freshman is kind of tough because, you know, you feel like you don't got the right or to say whatever, how you feel or pick it up or anything like that. So I say that's the main place I get.
You roomed with Max Bredesen during fall camp, the fullback, two-time captain. Did he give you some leadership tips?
Definitely. Just letting me know that I could be more vocal, and he would back me up no matter what I say, so for sure.
I mean, Justice, I think there's few, if any, programs that prioritize running the football like Michigan. Just what are you excited about to play in this offense this fall?
Oh, I can't wait, you know. We talk about it all the time. We're going to run the football here. And I think that's something special. But, you know, we're going to be very dynamic on offense and be very explosive. But, you know, I came to college to run the football. But, you know, throughout college I've learned how to be the best, most complete person that I could possibly be on that football field, whether it's blocking or whatever I need to do to help the team win.
What's your relationship like with Jordan, and what's the ceiling for your running back room?
First of all, I think the ceiling on our running back room is tremendous. We talk about it all the time. We want to be the best unit in the country, not just the best unit on this team, but we want to be the best unit in the country. You look around at our room, you shouldn't be able to tell a leader. We're all leaders in that room. We're all RB1s, and we're all competing in iron sharpen iron every day and being the best versions of ourselves. So I think we have a really strong room that starts with the top from Freddie J and TA and carries on to us. And then my relationship with Jordan, that's like my little brother. We have a great relationship. He welcomed me in with open arms, so did the whole running back room and this team. And Jordan and I, we got a really strong relationship.
How about your relationship with Chip Lindsey?
It's a great relationship. We kind of came in at the same time around, like bowl prep and stuff like that. So just to get closer with him every single day in all of the quarterback room, it's just been great. So,
give me a few things that you're most excited to get on the field and do this fall.
Honestly, just to shock the world. They seen a lot of freshmen, but I feel like nobody's seen a freshman like me. So,
what are some of the goals you have for yourself?
Honestly, do whatever it takes to get my team to wherever they want to be, which is the national championship, of course. Beating Ohio State is one of the other things as well. So however I can prepare my team like that, that's what I'm willing to do.
Winning games.
Of course.
How about the offensive line? I mean, that's been a big standard of this Michigan offense. What have you seen from those guys up front?
I think the offensive line has tremendously continued to keep improving. I mean, I joke around with them all the time. Like, Coach Castile had them in here all summer just working. Like, I think they worked harder than anyone that I've seen. Like, they're out here grinding. Right after our workouts, they come straight in here into Glick, and they grinding. They on that sled. They pushing Coach Castile. They working on their technique. They continue to keep improving. They're led by Gio and Crip on that offensive line. And I think they've done a great job in leading that offensive line. And they're going to be tenacious. They're going to be physical. And they're going to be all about smash. And what we talk about all the time. It starts with them.
Does that motivate
go as far
you?
as they go. Oh, it motivates me a lot.
Yeah.
Because when they on, we all on. So it starts with them up front, and then they clear holes for us. They give pass protect for Bryce, allow him to throw the ball downfield, and all that other good stuff.
What have you seen from your quarterback now through fall camp?
I've just seen a kid who's came in who's very talented, very humble, very hardworking, and has really taken over the team and really been able to, older guys, younger guys, whoever it is, have looked up to him. He's a guy that, he doesn't always have to use his words. He just shows by his actions, but he has been able to use his words, and he's going to be a tremendous player, and God has given to him a lot of ability.
All right, Bryce, last one for you, man. I think everybody's excited about the wide receiver room. I'll even throw the tight ends. Can you tell me about some of the weapons you've made a connection with?
Honestly, it started from the 6 a.m. workouts during the summer and also, in the month of May, of course. We built a bond that nobody can break off of the field and on the field as well. So with my tight ends, we can do a little bit of everything. Same thing with my receivers. We can run block. We'll catch the ball one-on-ones. 50-50 balls is more like 80-20 for us. So I'm excited to show.
Who are some of the names? I know you can't pick favorites, but who are some of those names you're looking to on third and 8 key situations?
You got Channing Goodwins, who's going to surprise a lot of people this year. Samaj Morgan, Donovan McCulley, Fred Moore, Anthony Simpson. Just a lot of names that's going to come up. But the tight end room is endless, of course. So
you feel good about the weapons outside?
Of course, no question about it.
Well, we're looking forward to watching you guys this
Definitely.
fall. Thanks,
Sure.
Bryce Justice. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Defense was the clear strength for Michigan last year, and it got better as the season went on. The Wolverines allowing a total of 23 points in their wins over eventual national champ Ohio State and Alabama to close out the season, as those two teams combined for just over 500 yards. Had 4 players off that group taken in the first 3 rounds of the NFL draft, though, so some retooling to do for DC Wink Martindale, who is with Howard.
Coach, this is your second year coordinating this Michigan defense. Tell me what's been different from when you were in the NFL to when you are here with these young people.
Well, you just said it, young people. And we're even younger this year overall than what we were last year. So, there's the challenges of just teaching them, the respect of the game, the respect of the tradition of the school. But really it comes down to, what we've been focused on the last 2 weeks is just tackling. Because we all know that, the first couple games of the season, you see poor tackling, and we're trying to get out ahead of it. And, the way that Sherrone has set up practice has been great for us. It's been a physical camp. It was a physical spring. It's been a physical camp. And that's what we need right now, because we got a lot of, true freshmen that are going to see action.
Yeah, this is a team that was, I think you could say, was led by your interior defensive lineman, did a really great job of commanding the line of scrimmage. Younger people there this year, but they really look talented when we get an opportunity to watch them move out there at practice.
Yeah, they've done a nice job. I think it started back at the bowl game that, gave them confidence that, they can step up and play. Obviously, you can't replace every year the 5th pick of the first round, 13th pick of the first round. But, it's going to be a challenge, and you're going to see a lot of guys rotating up front and, inside especially, and in the secondary. I think we got Shug, our corner is the number 1 corner that we have. He's had a great training camp. And then really everybody else it's just been by committee of who's playing well.
One of the players that I think jumped out for me, is 25.
Yeah.
When you talk about a 6'5" safety, what does that give you ability? I know you're not going to give us the game plan, but what having a guy with those type of attributes and those physical talents allow you to do from a defensive standpoint?
I think that, Mace, started playing towards the end of last year, and it built his confidence up. I think with having a kid with that range, it's hard to throw over or around him when he has the length that he has, especially like in the RPO game and things like that. So, he's really been working hard at both at safety, and, we've been putting him down in the box as well. And, because we always talk about it's positionless defense. Yeah. One game you'll see him at nickels, one game you'll see him at safety. He has that kind of talent. But it's one of those things that, he just, the best of his football's ahead of him, and it's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, he's outstanding. Reminds me a lot of Kyle Hamilton and what they're able to do with him. Yeah. Maybe not quite as athletic, but I think the other part that's really interesting is you got a lot of pass rush inside from interior. Talk to us a little bit about the defensive ends that are going to be able to rush the passer this year.
The defensive ends with like Demo and Cam Brandt and TJ, and, we've moved Jay Sean inside and outside. The edge guys are right on schedule, I think. The inside guys, the interior guys are more bullies than athletes. That's where you're going to see
bullies are good.
Yeah. I mean, it's different styles. The guys that jumped out to me this training camp is our inside linebacker position, because I think not only are they very talented, I think we're really deep there, and that's going to be fun moving those guys around.
What's it been like being able to be on the opposite side and watch the young talented quarterback Underwood work? And what have you seen from him that also says, hey, this guy can be special?
Well, I think that, that's obvious that, the kid could be special, but it's also one of those things that he's 18 years old too. And I think that, with, all the accolades that he deserves, that he's received already, I think some people forget when you ask me, what's the difference in the NFL and coaching kids? It's, those things that, he just turned 18. So I think that he's progressed really well. I know Chip will talk more about it. It's fun to watch quarterbacks complete passes during practice. I think he helps us be a better defense because of how talented he is in throwing the football.
Have you reached or gotten everything you wanted out of this defense? Are you where you need to be heading into game week? You feel comfortable about that, or are there some things you need to clean up?
I think that, there's always things to clean up, especially early in the season. Like we already talked about, just shedding blocks, getting off blocks, the basic fundamental stuff. Because, we'll go back to, we got the whole package installed.
Yeah.
Hey, man, we're doing an interview. Sorry. We have everything installed, and, now we're just going to narrow some things down to simplify it, especially for the younger guys. And, once we can get the game to slow down for them, that's when you'll see their true talent, because we are, as far as talent, overall talent, I think that, we have more talent across the board, I'm saying, than what we did last year, but they need to grow up. I mean, we lack in maturity, if you will. So that's going to be a challenge for all of our coaches, and the coaches do a great job.
Well, Coach, thanks a lot. I appreciate it. Have a great season.
All right. Thank you.
We've been harping on those NFL draft departures. Graham and Grant, both first-rounders. Will Johnson, outstanding on the back end. They did a great job of impacting the quarterback, 9th in the nation in pressure rate. They're 2nd nationally in scoring defense over the last 4 years combined. A very, very stingy unit.
So, fellas, after watching practice today, any reason to think that trend does not continue here of strong defense?
Yeah, I think the trend is going to continue. It'll be a little different this year. You talk about a team that was so dominant up the middle and really was able to control the line of scrimmage on that side of the ball. I think this year they may rely upon more of the outside guys to be able to get to the quarterback. But that's one of the things in this style of a defense. You can play the matchups, and they're going to match up very well against their opponents.
Michigan has had quite the run of developing defensive tackles. It goes back to Mozzie Smith and Chris Jenkins, Mason Graham, Kenneth Grant. Now you look at that, they might be 6 guys deep at defensive tackle that could seriously play across the Big Ten. I completely agree with Sherrone Moore. This D-line, at their best, could be one of the best in college football. And then their linebackers are extremely impressive to me. Ernest Hausmann and Jayshon Barham. I think Barham as a blitzer adds another element to this defense, but the backups too, Cole Sullivan and Jimmy Roeder, as a backup linebacking crew, would start at most of the schools in the Big Ten. So the front identity, their run stoppers, set in stone.
Yeah. Barham and Hausmann just so impressive physically. I mean,
intimidating. I mean,
they really are. What about with the edge rushers, guys? I mean, this is another area where Michigan has excelled in past years. What do you think on those edges?
I think there'll be some new guys that have to do it, and there may not be the elite pass rusher at this particular moment. They have some young guys that I think have a chance to really be special, but it's going to be one of those things where they got to be able to have the matchups. You got to match up, and that's where you talk about having a D-line that's so deep and talented. You're able to roll those guys through and be able to get the pressure on the quarterback, and I think you can also do some things scheme-wise that will allow you to get to the quarterback.
I think Derrick Moore has a chance to be the star of that defensive line room, the defensive end room. To me, he's a day 2 pick at his best, and he was getting playing time as a freshman. He's added moves to his game each year. He's a big body, but now he's become a polished pass rusher, and that's part of the reason he decided to come back and lead this defensive line. I think the pass rusher is going to be in great hands.
Yeah, it's interesting, kind of to your point, Jake, about how they've built through the years. I mean, I just feel like you go back and David Ojabo and Aiden Hutchinson, how are they going to replace these guys? And it's kind of the same thing, right? I mean, at a certain point, you recruit in the elite level, you develop talent at an elite level, and year in and year out, you're going to be elite. And that's kind of what we've seen here. I mean, it's the names may change, but the concept is the same. They're really sound defensively.
And that's the thing. You want to have an identity. You want to be able to play strong defense, and you have to be able to do that with an outstanding defensive line.
Mm-hmm. And if we're splitting hairs, I would say that third cornerback spot, I mean, Jair Hill's the stud. Zeke Berry is right. That third cornerback spot, there seems to be some competition. But Wink Martindale has called this a positionless defense. I know you're high on Mason Curtis at safety. He has the ability to play nickel, which would allow them to bump Zeke Berry outside. So it's kind kind of built into what Wink Martindale wants this defense to be, where they have 15 guys that could allow for different packages.
It does feel like depth will be a huge part of the story here this year. Maybe the star power isn't quite at the same level, though we shall see.
We'll see.
It will develop.
When we get to the end of the year. But I get it. Like preseason All-American's not quite the same, but there's a ton of talent, no doubt, on that defense.
8 wins for Michigan a season ago. What's impressive is that 3 of them came against top 15 teams. We've talked about the victories over Ohio State and Alabama. They also beat USC when the Trojans were ranked 11th. Pretty good list here. The other 4 teams that won 3 or more games against top 15 opponents last season all made the college football playoff. And head coach Sherrone Moore joins me now. And Sherrone, you look at those wins last year, particularly the 2 down the stretch. How did those wins kind of set you forward here with momentum heading into this year? How were you able to build on that?
Yeah, I think it just gave a lot of our guys confidence that they can play in those big games. We had a lot of young guys, especially in the last one. And, obviously the one before that we prepare for all year. So that's something that's, that sets the standard of our organization and how we do things. So that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to go win those games. We thought we could win those games. We trusted that we could. And the preparation, definitely suited. So, but excited for where this team is right now and where we're going to be.
What were the biggest things you think you learned about yourself first year as a head coach?
Yeah, I think learn to trust. Trust in the coordinators, trust in the people around me, and trust in the players. You can go through some adversity, but I really learned more about the people around me and how great the culture is here at Michigan. Because in those situations, 5-5, you can easily you can go down in the dumps. You can start blaming people, start pointing the finger. And our guys really came together, coaches included. And to watch that was a life lesson for me about, unity and positivity and bringing things together and playing for Michigan.
You made a change, new offensive coordinator, Chip Lindsey. What made him the right guy for you?
I mean, he wanted to be here, was a huge piece, but his knowledge is a wealth of knowledge. Obviously, the offenses that he run, that has ran, and the balance that he has in the run game and the pass game, his vision for what he wants it to look like, a little bit different than what I've wanted it to look like, and we've meshed it together, and it's been really fun to be around.
Elaborate on that. What's different?
Yeah, I mean, just, different things. I can't give you everything right now, but,
give me a little.
Just the way we, organize, not just organize practice, but where we organize plays and the way we, do things and call things and the way things are formatted might just look a little bit different than it normally has. But I think the same mentality that we want of being physical, being violent, and running the football is definitely going to be there.
Well, there were a lot of offensive questions coming out of last year. That was the area where you guys struggled. I think first and foremost is quarterback. We saw Bryce Underwood out here today. Awfully impressive. Give us a sense of how you've seen him develop through camp.
Yeah, I mean, just coming in as he just turned 18 years old the other day. And for a young guy coming out of high school, really poised, really loves the game, really excited about it, and a great teammate. That's really the things you love about him. He's got great talent, but I think his knowledge of the game is really vast for a young guy, and excited to see where it goes.
Offensive line was an issue last year as well. You've retooled that group some. How do you feel about them coming out of camp?
Yeah, I feel really good. Feel like we've got a little bit more depth than we've had last year. It feels more like the 21, 22 years where you got 8 or 9 guys that you can play in a game that you feel comfortable with, and they get tested every day by our defense. Our defense is fierce. Our defense is fast and deep. So moving Evan Link over to left side where he played in the bowl game, Andrew Sprague on the right, and guys battling behind him to compete. Cripp's done a really good job at center. Gio and Brady Norton, Nate Afobe really battling at that right guard spot to finish off to see who gets that spot. So, but we've got guys like Blake Frazier, Lawrence Attar, Jake Gunera behind that we feel like can compete too as well.
I know the other area really looked to shore up in the offseason was wide receiver. You guys had less than 750 receiving yards from wide receivers last year, so you needed more production. You got Donovan McCulley out of the portal. It's clear he's going to play a really significant role. Tell me about the rest of that group and how you've seen them grow.
I think, Coach Bellamy and Coach Supcando have done an outstanding job with that group just developing the mindset. I think that was a big piece of it too. We needed a different mindset, that dog mindset with that room. And I want the ball. You want the receivers that want the ball, but all in all, they still got a block too in the run game. But Donovan McCulley, Samaj Morgan, Channing Goodwin, Andrew Marsh, Fred Moore, the list keeps going and going and going of guys that can play. And just really excited about whether group. Kendrick Bell's another guy that's really stood out, Anthony Simpson. So it's a group that's deep, and it's an exciting group to watch.
Well, talk about depth. I mean, you lost a lot of star power on defense, including 2 guys who are first-round picks in the NFL draft, and yet you look out there, it seems different, right? It feels like maybe more guys might rotate through than in the past, but defensively, where Michigan has really hung its hat here in recent years, how do you feel this group is compared to where you were at the end of last year?
Yeah, I think what you saw in the bowl game is really what you're going to get. A lot of those guys that were, played in the bowl game are going to play this year. And even with the additions of some guys that we got in the portal, like T.J. Metcalf and Trey Williams, Damon Payne, some older guys that have played a lot of football, but with the guys that we have here, so really excited about this defense. They're fast, they're physical, and it comes in waves. I'm talking to Coach Martindale the other day, it's like trying to figure out what's the depth chart. There really is none. It's just 1A, 1B, and the guys that practice the best that week start, and everybody plays. So it's going to be fun to watch.
I know you're not going to overlook the game against New Mexico, but I do want to ask you about the second game because it's your alma mater, and you go back to Norman to take on Oklahoma. What's it going to mean to you to walk onto that field as the head coach against Oklahoma?
I mean, yeah, like you said, I'm so focused on New Mexico because I know how I've been on the other side. I've been a Central Michigan going to Oklahoma State, and people thought we couldn't do it, and we went and won. So my mind is completely on the New Mexico team and trying to beat them. That'll be a cool game for me to go back to Oklahoma. A lot of family and friends are close to there, but I'm completely locked in on New Mexico right now.
Okay, so what are the biggest things you need to accomplish before you guys take on New Mexico?
Yeah, I mean, fine-tune all the little details. We really talk about it's not the plays, it's the how. It's the how we practice, it's the how we play. Make sure we're refreshed, get our bodies right because it was a long physical camp, and we're going to do everything we can to make sure that they're ramping up at the right time.
Sherrone Moore, thanks a lot, Coach. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
New offensive coordinator in Ann Arbor, Chip Lindsey. Fair to say he has done this before. His 6th OC job in FBS has turned out consistently solid units. Top 40 in scoring in each of his last 4 stops. Was in North Carolina most recently. Just for some perspective, the Wolverines were 113th in scoring offense last year and 129th in total offense. Some work to do for Lindsey, who visited with Jake.
All right, Coach, I think Michigan fans are extremely excited to see this new look offense. You're now into game week prep. Just kind of big picture, what's your evaluation of the offense at this point?
Yeah, I think we're making a lot of progress. I mean, we're not ready yet. We need another week, but I mean, making a lot of progress. The guys are working really hard, and I think for us, it's just finding that consistency and making sure that we are next Saturday ready to go, hitting on all cylinders.
Let's talk about your young quarterback. You've went through spring ball together. Now you've went through fall camp together. What are some of those big areas that he's made the most progress in?
Yeah, I just think reps. I mean, getting the reps, seeing the defenses. Every play kind of has a story of its own because of the different looks you get on defense. And I think for him, with Wink, we're going to get a lot of looks, right? So there's a lot of different stories. But I think for him, just continuing to grow and really just, not make any of the same mistakes twice. That's kind of what I think the good guys that I've had in the past, they don't repeat mistakes, and I think that's important, and I think Bryce has made a lot of progress on that.
You're alluding to the mental side of the game.
Yeah.
The physical gifts are immediately apparent, and Michigan fans are going to see that as soon as he takes the field. Where is he at on that scale in terms of mastering the offense, understanding defensive coverages?
Yeah, he's doing great. I mean, he's a smart guy. All of them are smart. I mean, Jaden's the same way, and Jake Garcia, they're all making a lot of progress. I think Bryce is pretty advanced for a high school guy coming in, I would say, knowledge-wise, from the standpoint of fronts, coverages, protections, and things. I think he did, he had good coaching in high school. And but at the end of the day, the game's faster, and there's been obviously a learning curve there. But I like the progress he's making, and Jaden as well. Jaden's had a great training camp. So, I think for us, we're just focused on each and every day, trying to get better and trying to improve and correct the mistakes we make.
How does your role change, or does it change when you do have a freshman quarterback calling the plays in the huddle?
Yeah, I think like anything else, you build it around the strengths of your players. I mean, I learned that a long time ago as a high school coach, and the more the guys can handle, the more you give them. Bryce is very smart. Jaden's very smart. Jake's played some, so he's got some experience. So, we put a lot on their plates here, but at the end of the day, I think, a smart coach goes into a game and realizes, okay, this is what we are good at doing, this is what we're not good at doing, and you build the game plan around that and the strengths of your players. And I think if you stay in that mode, you can have success.
That's kind of been your identity as a play caller, is you've kind of been able to tweak the offensive system to the strength. Sometimes it's the run game, sometimes it's the passing game. That's the headline. Now going through fall camp, what would you say the strengths are of your guys, and what will be the identity of this offense?
Yeah, I think the DNA of who we are here at Michigan. I mean, it's an honor for me to be here and have this opportunity, and the DNA will never change. We're going to be a physical, tough football team. That's what Coach Moore's vision is. When we talked about this, that was our visions aligned in that respect. And so I think at the end of the day, I've seen our team grow in that area and really carry on. That's, being a former player here, that's important to these guys, to carry on that tradition. And so we're continuing to do that. I think, if you can run the football, I think it opens up a lot of things, and that's that'll be kind of what we're trying to do right out of the gate.
Well, aside from running the ball, is going to be the weapons on the outside. What's been your evaluation of the wide receiver room?
Yeah, I mean, Donovan McCulley's been a huge shot in the arm for us. He's a guy that gives us the ability to make plays down the field. But that whole room's growing. I think Ron Bellamy's done a great job bringing in some young players that have added some depth, which we needed tremendously. Samaj Morgan's had a really good training camp. Fred Moore's had a good training camp. I mean, the guys that have been here. But I think now we've got a deeper room. And with that comes competition. And when you have competition, I think it makes everybody better.
There's even a couple freshmen. I know I saw Andrew Marsh rotate in there. Do you anticipate you might be seeing some freshmen take significant snaps this fall?
Yeah, I think so. In this day and age, you play them when they're ready. I mean, it used to be a little different, but I think that's important. And if they can get on the field and help us in some kind of role, we're going to definitely, they're going to be a part of it for sure.
How valuable is it to go against this Wink Martindale defense and defensive line? I mean, this is a really talented defense.
Yeah.
What does that do for you?
No, they are. They're really talented. They do a great job. Wink does an unbelievable job. He's been great, just getting to know him, working with him. He makes you work every day for sure and be prepared. And, you see something in practice, and that night you go back to the drawing board and try to improve. But it's been good. It's been good for our quarterbacks, too. They've been tested. They have to understand the looks they're getting and so forth. And, our hope is that we do a lot of good on good against each other. You know that from being here. And I think that's only going to help us grow as an offense. Iron sharpens iron, so to speak. So that's kind of our attitude and our mentality.
Last question for you. There's not a ton of time, but there is still time. Yeah. What are those few key areas that you're looking to improve upon ahead of week one?
Yeah, I think the consistency piece is important for us. Like, we got to be able to, every time we take the field, whatever period it is, and obviously during a game, in each drive or whatever, we need to be consistent. And I think that's something we've been pushing. I know Coach Moore's been pushing with our guys. We need to continue to grow in that area for the next week and really hone in. Sometimes when you get into game plan week, it's a little better because you don't have the whole playbook. You're kind of, zeroing in on what you plan on using that week. So hopefully that's going to help us. But this week's critical for us. We need to have a big week before we play next Saturday.
Well, we're looking forward to watching your offensive unit this fall, Coach.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
Bryce Underwood, a huge part of the equation here from nearby Belleville High School, about 20 miles from here. He joins Quinn Ewers, who started his career at Ohio State before going to Texas, as the only two QB commits in the Big Ten in the last 15 years to be ranked as the nation's #1 player. Was 50-4 as a starter in high school. So let's break down the offense, guys, and it feels like maybe that's a good place to start with Bryce Underwood, the quarterback. It is fair to say he took the overwhelming majority of snaps with the ones today. He is physically about as impressive a young man as you will see. What did you think about him as a quarterback?
Yeah, I had an opportunity to see him this spring, and he was just as impressive today as he was in the spring. He's a talented young man, and I think right now what we're seeing is a guy that has all the attributes, all the physical skills to really be an elite quarterback. But we really won't know until he steps out on the field, and that's when we'll actually know. But he has all the things. He does everything the right way. So the arrow, as they say, is pointing up, but he is immensely talented.
Yeah, he's unbelievably gifted. The ball jumps out of his hand with great velocity, but sometimes quarterbacks throw a hard ball, and it's hard to catch. he throws with great velocity, but it's still a very catchable football. He can cover the entire field. There's not a throw that Chip Lindsey is going to ask of him that he can't make. But it's really the mental side and just walking around. I know some of the guys on the team. I mean, Max Bredesen pulled me aside. He said, how good is our quarterback right there? That guy doesn't miss. So I think that says a lot that he's earned the belief of his teammates. But it's not just Bryce. The wide receiver room should improve. The offensive line at this point should improve. Chip Lindsey, with his experience, should improve. So it's all the other pieces around him that are going to unlock his potential.
No doubt. Quarterback is going to get much of the attention, especially when you have the number one recruit in the nation. And it does seem like he's going to be put in a position where he's going to have to play right away. Part of it is he's really, really good and you want him to play. The other is Mikey Keene, who they brought in, was a limited participant in practice today. Again, I feel like all signs point toward Underwood being out there. But Jake, to your point, I mean, let's talk about some of the guys around him. The offensive line was not as good as it has been in recent years, a season ago. The wide receivers, I mean, under 750 yards combined in terms of yardage from the wide receiver room last year. So do you feel like those groups have taken enough of a jump that they can be better than where they were offensively, which frankly was historically bad? I mean, mentioned it, not since 1963 if they average fewer yards per game.
There's no doubt in my mind they will be better. The question is how much better. I think if everything clicks and they play at their potential, that's when this team becomes extremely dangerous. They'll absolutely be better. I mean, the offensive line, there's been some shuffling. I mean, Greg Crippen's been in this program for years. Giovanni El-Hadi has taken leadership of that program. Evan Link, you bump him to the left side. He seems to be more comfortable right there. There's a clear upgrade with Donovan McCulley at wide receiver, a big body with a large catch radius, friendly target for your quarterback. Marlon Klein at tight end, Max Bredesen. So they have all these key pieces that I think are going to absolutely benefit Bryce Underwood. And I think another piece of this is his legs. He's a phenomenal athlete. I don't think they're going to ask a ton of him, but it's just the capability that adds another element to the offense.
I do ask you about this, and Howard, I obviously want to get your take there too, but it does feel like there's a balancing act of how much you want to run him here early on, right? But you look at him and you think, man, I mean, it's a great
He should be playing
weapon.
defensive end.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking to Desmond Howard, who was here at practice, Hausmann Trophy winner, and he said, I mean, that's your first guy off the bus. Like, he just looks, he's so physically impressive. But again, interested in your take of where the rest of the group is around him. And I want to include the running backs, who Tony Alford is really high on.
I would say this running back group here has an opportunity to be the best running back group in the Big Ten Conference. They're shifty, they're quick, they can hit the home run. It is a tremendous upgrade at the running back position, what they have. And this offensive line coming together, I think is going to be tremendous for them. And then we talked about outside. I personally think because of what you have at quarterback right now, that's going to help the guys outside. And normally we look at how can the weapons outside help the quarterback. But because the ball can be pushed down the field, those guys can go get it. I think sometimes they were limited last year in what they could do based on what was happening at the quarterback position. But this is an offense that has a chance to be as explosive as they've been in a long time.
Yeah, excited to see whether they can get some big plays. That was an area where they were severely limited a year ago. It does feel like they have upgraded everywhere across the offense. And to your point, Jake, they need to be better. Yeah. It feels like they will be better. The question is, how much better? While Michigan did lose a lot of star power on the defense, the Wolverines still returned their top tackler from a season ago in Ernest Hausmann. The Nebraska transfer had 89 stops last season, 7 behind the line of scrimmage. The question is, who emerges to fill the voids up front on D? Derrick Moore seems like a likely candidate, despite totaling just 23 tackles. He's Pro Football Focus's 10th highest-rated returning edge rusher from a season ago. Hausmann and Moore with Howard.
Guys, thanks for joining me. I want to get an idea, what is it like playing defense in this scheme at Michigan?
I'll go first. Playing defense in this scheme at Michigan is one where you were able to maximize each person's own individual attributes. I think with Coach Wink in the system, I think he does a really good job of making sure that everybody's skills and their strengths are really put out there on the field, and is able to use that to our best ability.
I feel like Ernie said it best. I feel like as an edge guy, I feel like this defense, fits you real well to pretty much do everything. You can drop into coverage, play on the outside, inside, and then also, have a coach Wink. He find different ways for all of us to get to the quarterback, so that's what I love about it.
In the previous year, last year, there was a lot of pressure inside from the defensive tackles. There are going to be some younger players there. I know they're very capable, but it looks like it's going to be more on the edge guys to be able to get to the quarterback. How do you like being in that type of situation?
I love it. I love it a lot. Especially having them two gone. It take a lot of pressure off a quarterback and more speed from the edges. But a lot of people talk about not having them there. But I feel like without them being there, I feel like we still got guys in the interior that can still get to the quarterback. And sometimes they get to it, faster than us sometimes. But, I'm excited for them boys. I'm also excited for TJ, Dom, and Cam, just for this year, and also myself, for all of us, just to get to the quarterback.
Yeah. How about from your perspective, being able to shut down the run and make things happen inside the box a little bit to slow defenses down offenses from running the football on you guys?
Yeah, I think, this year is different. I think that's the number one thing that Coach Wink told our whole defense in the first unit meeting we had during this camp was it's going to be different. And it's not something that's to startle us or to scare us. It's something to really make sure that we understand the task at hand, the challenges that we are going to face this year. New system, new defense, new players. And I think for us to know that going into the season is very important.
Who are some of the young guys that have stepped up and you think going to be able to help you guys out this year?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of young guys, and I'm not going to be able to say all the guys, but speaking from my linebacker room specifically, the number one guy that sticks out to me is Cole Sullivan. He's done a great job of taking on this role he's had, and Troy Bowles, Chase. And Wusu, coming in here, I think they've done a really great job. My position group, if it's talking about the edge room. A young guy, Nate Marshall. He's really stood out. He's had a great camp. In the secondary, I think Elijah Dodson, Jaden Sanders. I think they've done a really good job stepping up to his roles, positions. Really attacking each day with a great mindset.
What's some of the things that you want to work on personally to elevate your game and to get it to where you want it to be? Your expectations?
I feel like this whole entire camp and also off season really just having that that explosion off the ball, that first step off the ball. I feel like that's where I kind of slacked in the pass rush game. Really just having my eyes all over the place pre-snap and thinking about too much. So I feel like that slowed me down. So I feel like this year is pretty much just go 100% every play, and that's it really.
What are some things you worked on in the off season? When you talk about that first step that you wanted to work on to get there where you are now?
First, I'm gonna say really just staying healthy, finding ways to get healthy, dealing with a knee issue last year, just making sure I was on top of that, and then also, being able to just some quick explosive, exercises and things like that, and also, my hand-eye coordination and things like that, so just be able to, get off the ball, and then after I get off the ball, where my eyes going at, also, breaking my hands as well, so that's it, really.
Can't let you get away without asking about one of your quarterbacks, the one that looks like he could play defensive end, Underwood. What have you seen from him as a young player and when you have to go against him each and every day?
Man, going against Bryce Underwood, he's mature beyond his years. He came into this program, came to this team with someone where you would never know he's a 17-year-old kid coming from high school. Just the way he works, the way he goes about himself, the way he carries himself around this whole building. He's so mature, and I think I'm really excited to see what he does this year, moving forward and throughout his whole career.
Well, guys, thanks a lot. I really appreciate your time. Stay healthy. Have a great season.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Wrapping things up from Ann Arbor, the Wolverines now squarely focused on their season opener over at the Big House against New Mexico. Their biggest non-conference test, a trip down to Norman to battle Sherrone Moore's alma mater in Oklahoma, their first non-conference road game in 7 years. Overall, it's a very manageable schedule for the Wolverines. Only 3 of their 12 opponents finished last year with a winning record. Only one of them won more than 7 games. That, of course, Ohio State. Game is here in Ann Arbor this season in its traditional spot on Thanksgiving weekend. So as we wrap things up here from Ann Arbor, perhaps using the schedule as a jumping off point, final thoughts on Michigan.
Well, we're going to find a ton out about this football team. Those road games, on the road to Oklahoma, on the road to Nebraska, and that one's without Sherrone Moore. Those are a crash course for your young freshman quarterback and how well he knows this offense, how comfortable he is operating the huddle when you can't really talk. What's his confidence level? I also think there's a sneaky big test there, back-to-back on the road to USC and home against Washington. Both programs I expect to take a big step this year. Ohio State, we don't need to talk about it, but that meet there right in the middle of the schedule at the beginning of conference play, we'll know what to expect about this Michigan Wolverines team.
I will say this, it lines up perfectly for them in a way, particularly with a young quarterback and some young defensive players up front. They have an opportunity to get out of the gate early and start to build that confidence, not just in the starters, but also in the guys that they're going to need, the second and the third team guys that they're going to need as the season continues to progress. Because this is a good football team that's going to be competing for a spot in the 12-team playoff, no doubt about that, but they're going to need numbers to be able to do it. We know the talent that they have. They looked outstanding. They are gifted. This is a gifted football team. They'd have to develop at the quarterback, continue that, and also offensively do the things that they couldn't do last year. And I think they're in position to get that done.
I think the great thing for these road tests, too, is what travels is a great defense. That is a great defense. It's going to keep them in every game. What else travels? The ability to run the ball. So for all this excitement and talent for Bryce Underwood, it was said by Coach Moore, it was said by Chip Lindsey, and it was said by the offensive players. They don't want him to play beyond himself. He has nothing to prove. Just go be who you are, which is an extremely talented quarterback, and they will win as a team.
Lots of excitement about the present, lots of excitement about the future as well. Took so much momentum out of last year, and you can feel that momentum coursing through this camp. That is going to do it for us. Thanks to everyone here at Michigan, including Sports Information Director Chad Shepard, shepherding us through, you might say, an enjoyable way to end the tour. Yes, it is over. 18 stops down. Thanks so much for watching. The season is now upon us. We will preview it all week on Big Ten Today at noon Eastern Time. And remember, our season starts with a doubleheader of games on the Big Ten Network on Thursday night. We are fired up for football. Thanks for joining us on the Big Ten Network Tour.